in opening up Refined Content Studios, what did you find was maybe potentially challenging, or was it like easy flow because you had the experience in the background, a roster potentially coming in? Like, talk a little bit about what that looked like.
So the flow was good once I got the doors open, but getting the space I think was the most challenging. So finding a space that worked for what I needed specifically, competing with other people who may want a commercial lease, and doing the business proposal. So it took me maybe 8 months or so to get this space. I went after it at least 3-4 times.
The same space.
Yeah, that I can remember.
Okay. Look, that's persistence right there.
Persistence. So in January of last year, I'll back up. November of the year before that. Okay. So that's 2022. I took a course on how to open a content studio from a young lady in Atlanta. They have a lot of amazing spaces in Atlanta. Atlanta is that's I have a board of like all the things I want to do when I see stuff in Atlanta. And so I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So by January, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go look for a lease. I found this space and one other space. Okay. The other space was good, but this one was the one that I wanted. I'm like, this is what I want. We were negotiating the lease terms. They weren't what I wanted. So I stepped away, kept looking, still couldn't find anything. So then I went back and I said, okay, can we try it again? So it still wasn't what I wanted. So then the third time, I'm like, okay, went back again. I saw that it wasn't, this is now June. Okay. I saw
June of 23.
Yeah, 23. I saw that it wasn't leased. So I'm like, well, if you had a lease to me, you could have a tenant by now. You could have a tenant by now. And so they're like, okay, but 2 other people are putting their application in the same week as you. So I'm like, okay, so let's see how it goes. They're like, well, we're going to go with the other people because they're willing to sign a longer lease. I said, well, that's fine. And I told myself, I said, God, what's for me is for me. I was hurt, but I was like, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. So maybe about 3 weeks later, they called me and said the other people backed out. We want to just go ahead and give it to you.
Yeah.
So
I got chills. Like, literally had chills.
And I was so surprised. I'm like, I was out of town. And they're like, well, can you, come this week? I'm like, I'm not there, but my husband can. He can come. He's going to get the keys. He's going to do everything. And I'm like, I'm about to come home, like, because I got to get started. So I was in Michigan at my parents' house. So I'm rushing back and I'm like, let's hit the ground running. Like, let's start, building, putting it together. So the time it took me to get the space fully up and running was from August to November. And I opened my doors in November, literally a year to the date that I took that class and said, I'm going to do this.
Wow.
Yes. Perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness.
But that you're going through it with all the setbacks and things like that. I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't going to work. But then when I see it came together, I had those pieces of the puzzle. God was writing a story.
Exactly.
And it came together exactly a year to the date.
That's, we sometimes, like, I'm a control freak. I'm a type A.
I feel you on that. I can be that way too.
And we like, okay, let's go. It needs to be this way, this way, this way, this way. And just knowing that God already has worked it all out. Like, you literally went 3 times. And on that 3rd time, it was like, all right, bet, this is now yours. Like, it's amazing when we just, and that's something that even for me, just be submissive and just listen to what God's saying and then execute. Or in your case, letting those pieces come together.
It is a challenge to do that. And I'm very much like, okay, let me make a plan so I can plan for this. For this, for this. And then I'm like, what backup happened? Okay, here's my caveat for this.
That is me too.
I'm like, okay. And then when it comes together, I'm like, see, you didn't even have to work yourself up like that.
You're right. We be doing the most.
Yes.